Here with the voice of the Mayhem, Alex Von Coitel. The Mayhem have looked very good this season so far. 3-0-1, just the lone loss coming in overtime. And so far, the team has not played a true road series yet, having all their games at home. How do you think this road trip up to Fayetteville is going to impact the team with how high they're rolling?
Yeah, it's been great. Normally we haven't, just traditionally, we haven't been great at the start of season. So this was a really, really big test for us, having 4 back-to-back home games in a row before we hit the road. I think we're the only team in the league that has that. So we definitely took advantage of that, taking 7 points out of 8. And I think a lot of the veterans on our team have stepped up and shown really good leadership, and I expect them to be able to do that on our first road trip coming up this weekend.
Now, you talked kind of about slow starts, and obviously the Mayhem have had anything but that. You're the highest-scoring team in the entire league so far. And we talk about goal scorers for your team, and it seems like Brandon Fate has been one who's really stepped up. He had a few goals when he played the Marksmen and a couple of goals against the Ice Bears. What has been his impact on the ice?
Yeah, well, it's funny because he's somebody who's played on the opposite side. He's played his whole life, juniors, pros, and college as well, on the right side, and we just had a surplus of right defensemen. So the last 3-4 games for us have been the only times in his career where he's played on the opposite point. And he was a little bit nervous. I talked to him about it, and being able to just kind of be on the offhand and take the one-timer there, he's been really effective, and he seems to really like the mid to high slot shot. Straightaway angle at the goalie, and both of his goals, I think, on Friday night against Knoxville came just like that. So he's rolling. We're really excited for him, and he's somebody who is a veteran of the SPHL, but he's new on our team. And even though he hasn't been playing for us for very long, he's still somebody who's sort of taken on a leadership role. And on Saturday night, he blocked a lot of big shots. So it's not just been offensively. Defensively, he blocked a lot of big shots for us to help our goaltender, Gordon Dayfield, keep his shutout, which would end up being our first shutout of the season so far.
Now, on top of being one of the highest-scoring teams in the league and obviously being at the top of the standings right now with 7 points, just a point over Birmingham, and you got a game in hand over them, you're one of the more penalized teams in the league as well. I believe you're alone in second place for that, with 2 teams tied for first between Roanoke and Pensacola. Are these more of mental errors, or are these kind of just positioning errors that we're seeing from these high penalty minutes from the Mayhem?
Well, I think one thing you have to take into consideration for the high penalty minutes is we've already been in 2 fights in just 4 games.
There you go.
So, yeah, and our fans love to see that. So I was Zach Urban and John Seamer, so a couple of guys who have been here. Urban, I want to say, played 36 games here last season, and Seamer has been here and this is his 3rd season. So, both of them are, kind of seasoned players here. They know what the fans like, and they're not really worried about stepping on anyone's toes or anything like that. And Seamer's somebody who, as an alternate captain, wants to show how kind of versatile he is, and he's also done really well in the scoring department. I think he's second on our team, I want to say, right now in points. So, there's that, and obviously there have been a few just kind of positioning and mental mistakes that have gone along with it as well. But one thing that I'm really proud of our guys about is that Friday night wasn't the best effort on the penalty kill. They struggled positionally, and I think gave up 2 power play goals against playing Knoxville. But the next night they were outstanding, and even though the game wasn't quite as exhilarating as a 6-3 win on Friday, it was more kind of fundamentally sound, and the guys got back to the basics and played really well on the PK on Saturday night. I think they went 5 for 5. So that's an area that we knew after Friday had to be improved, and they definitely answered the call on Saturday.
Now, it seems like just in the one-game performance that we saw between the 2 teams, Macon and Fayetteville, not really traditional rivals. Obviously, geographically, they're 2 of the closer teams to each other, especially for Fayetteville with where they're at. But it seemed like there was quite a bit of high temper between the 2 teams. In the first fight of the season for Fayetteville came when Nolan Sheeran dropped it with Zach Urban. Do you expect
That's
that
right.
kind of carryover to come back in this weekend series?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I have to say right off the bat is that, I mean, I wasn't here, neither were you, but I think we can both agree without a doubt that this is a much different, much improved Fayetteville squad. So from last season,
Definitely.
So just by saying that, I think we can definitely come to the conclusion that there's going to be a more intense rivalry. I mean, when the head-to-head record is 8-0-1 or whatever it was, I think for Macon last year,
yeah,
it doesn't really feel as much like a rivalry. And I don't expect that to carry over to this season. The sort of one-sided games when there were a lot of blowouts, I don't expect that to be the case this year when we play Fayetteville. Certainly not to the extent it was last year. So just by saying that, I think, and obviously with the tight 3-2 decision on Saturday last week and the fight that you mentioned with Sheeran and Urban, all those things sort of kind of serve as a prelude, I think, to what we can expect to see later on this year in the head-to-head series.
Now, who should Fayetteville fans be looking out for this weekend? Who do you think is going to be the Mayhem player who's really going to click this weekend in Fayetteville?
Well, we mentioned Fade. He's somebody who's been great at both sides of the puck and both ends of the arena. He had 3 points this past weekend, blocked more shots than I can count. So he'll be somebody who's dangerous to watch out for at the blue line. And I think the last time Fayetteville and Macon played each other, Dakota Kletcha had a really good game. He was the first star, had a goal and an assist, a primary assist. He's been great for us so far. We signed a new defenseman from Latvia. Played his first game on Saturday against Pensacola and scored in his debut. His name's Kristaps Bazovics. Really liked what I saw from him. He's a great skater, mobile on the blue line, and has a really good shot. And he was really excited to play on Saturday. He was supposed to play the night before that, but there was a problem getting his gear in from the airport. So he really sort of shined in his debut for us Saturday night. And last season in Mississippi had a very good rookie pro season, and I think had 30 points in 55 games. And he was he led all defensemen in the River Kings last year in scoring. So he'll be somebody to watch for as well. And obviously the goaltending has been really sharp for us. It doesn't seem to matter which goalie we put in. Both of them, Jordan Ruby and Gordon Dayfield, have really had strong starts to the year, and Gordy obviously just coming off a shutout from last Saturday. It's going to be tough to tell who starts Friday and who starts Saturday because they both played really well. But goaltending is definitely going to be a strength, I think, for the Mayhem this year.
Well, we've got a very exciting matchup coming up this weekend, and what is proving to be a blooming rivalry. Well, Alex, thanks for taking the time to sit down with me, and we'll definitely see what happens in these next two games for our teams.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Sean.